Look, go to a digital marketing agency and deal with a 25-year-old. But if you need heart surgery for your business, and you do, let's just say it was heart surgery for you, would you actually use the guy that just came out of medical school and he's 25 and he says, listen, I've never done this heart surgery before. I've learned all about how to do it at college. I'm going to give this a hell of a good shot. Okay. Or would you give it to the guy with a few wrinkles that has been around the block a few times who says, look, I can do this in my sleep?
You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Downloadable audio episodes can be found in the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie, Calls on Call Extraordinary Answering Service, as well as the Bold Business Book. And today we're welcoming / preparing to learn from JD of the Institute of Wow. And today we are talking marketing. So JD, how is it going today?
Thank you very much, James. And so that whoever's watching or listening to this doesn't think that I've got a completely weird name. My name is John Dwyer, but I get the initials JD all the time. And as I said to you before we started the recording, I get lots of other names, but we won't go through that.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. JD's cool. JD's cool. So Institute of Well, I'm excited to hear this because I looked at your website, all the marketing stuff you have going on. Let's start with the big story that you have on there with getting Jerry Seinfeld to work with you at a bank in Australia.
Yeah, and James, that was about a dozen years ago, and I've milked the daylights out of that, of course, as one would. I remember on one occasion in the 3 years that I went backwards and forwards to New York to get Jerry to, film the TV commercials and so forth. I said to him on the second year that he didn't have a website at the time, and I said, "Oh, can you imagine the amount of T-shirts and caps, you could sell?" And he looked at me and said, "Do I look like I need to sell any caps or T-shirts?" And I said,
Ah,
I said, probably not. You've got more money than God. And he said, and besides, why would I need a website, JD? I looked at yours. I'm on there more than you. So anyway, yes, I have milked it. But how that came about it was that I had a client down under. We're a direct response marketing company, and we're called the Institute of Wow. So it's all about showcasing to businesses how to wow factor their products or services to get people interested in buying them. And on this particular occasion, this bank down under was trying to take on the big boys. They were a challenger brand trying to take on the Wells Fargo. And that'd be like the little corner store taking on Costco. You're not going to win on price. So you've got to win on having a wow factor, some sort of, distraction that's going to get people not to look at the price. And so therefore I introduced them to a travel company that I was doing some TV commercials with. And we came on TV for 3 or 4 years, and Facebook and Insta and the whole lot of them. And we said, get a home loan and get a free vacation. The thing went nuts. And in the first few years, they took an extra $15 billion worth of home loans. And
wow.
this idiot who's on your show didn't charge a percentage of the results. I got a consultancy fee, so I'm a moron. Yeah. And so around about 4 years into it, we said, look, why don't we take it up a level? And I won't bore you with all the details, but I contacted George Shapiro, who was Jerry's manager out of Beverly Hills. And I said to him, would Jerry like to be a larrikin and stand outside a fake bank and, basically tell everyone to get a home loan, get a free vacation? I thought it would be a chance in a million, but as it turned out, George Shapiro is a bit sarcastic and cheeky. He's just passed away about 12 months ago, but he was very sarcastic and cheeky, and I'm a bit that way too. So we got on pretty well. And to my surprise, he came back and said, "Yeah, Jerry thought that'd be a good idea. Let's do it." And that's
Nice.
how it came up. So for 3 years, we had Jerry standing outside a fake bank. When I say fake, he lives in New York, so therefore we went to a little country town called Cedarhurst. We found an empty shop and we built the Greater Building Society, fake branch there. And he stood outside with people walking past, not taking any notice of him. Obviously, they were actors, and he was doing gags and just saying, get a home loan, get a free vacation. And when you put Seinfeld next to something like that, boy, it just took off. It was unbelievable. The figures just went through the stratosphere.
Isn't that incredible? So that time, were you smart enough to get a percentage? Or is that
No,
just
no,
consulting
no,
fee
no,
as
no,
well?
no, no. I've never been smart enough to do any of that, James. I'm afraid I'm a complete idiot. Yeah. All jokes aside, no, that what the bank did say to me, look, they can't do things like that because whilst it was a stunning success story, the Reserve Bank, if the Reserve Bank decides to drop the interest rate because of circumstances, then of course they can't go handing out percentages to people because it was really just because they dropped the interest rate.
Sure.
I said to them at the time, when I belatedly requested, a review of my consultancy fee, I would drop it in lieu of getting a percentage. They said to me, yeah, well, if the Reserve Bank drops at 0.5%, people are going to come in and get a home loan. It had nothing at all to do with you. I said, we can build in some variables. We can build in some variables.
Ah,
It was all too late.
yeah, burn, burn. So, but it worked. The marketing worked.
Yeah, look, it was just incredible. And as it turned out, because Jerry had only ever done two advertising campaigns before in his career, which was American Express and Microsoft, and this company's a little bit smaller than those two, it was headline news. I mean, when the news broke, it was on in Australia, it was on 60 Minutes, and it was on all the current affairs shows and the Today breakfast shows, you name it, it just went nuts. So just in the first 2 days, they picked up about $4 million worth of free advertising.
Wow. That is cool. That is
Yeah,
super cool.
yeah.
So let's back up a step to when you first got in the game of the Institute of Wow. When did you go off and decide that you're going to start your own business here in the marketing world?
Yeah, well, I was born in the 1800s, and so therefore I've been doing this for a little while. And yeah, so when I left school and did the college thing, I did the advertising, degree at college, and learned nothing, of course, because you go to all these colleges, and the actual teachers are full-time teachers that never done anything themselves. And so, luckily, in my early 20s, I got a job in the marketing department of a big supermarket chain in Australia. There's two of them, and one of them's called Woolworths. I know you guys in America had Woolworths at one stage, but this is not the same thing. This is a big supermarket thing. And I learned the value of what they call incentive-based marketing. And what would happen is that they'd have promotions like scratch games, and when you spent $50, you got a scratch ticket, and you scratched it out, and you might have got a red $100 note, and you had to keep coming back to Woolworths to do your supermarket shopping because you wanted to get a red, a blue, and a green to win the money. And so that's what they call continuity promotions. It gets you to come back over and over and over again. And one of them took my fancy. It was a stamp collection promotion. This is pre-digital days, and it was for every $10 you spent, you got a stamp, like a green stamp, but it wasn't green stamps. And you'd actually put the stamp onto a saver sheet. You'd lick it and put it onto a saver sheet with cookware and glassware all over the saver sheet. And when you saved up, let's say 10 stamps, you got cookware and glassware for a ridiculously low price. Okay. And it went nuts. And I could see here that even though the competitive supermarket chain tried to match them on price, it was never going to be in the league because this Woolworths had these Happy Meal toys, basically. And I thought there's something in this. And so anyway, cut a long story short, I set up my own business. It was called Dynamic Ideas in those days. And that's what we did. We produced those sorts of packaged promotions for businesses of all sizes. And then it grew to doing the same thing for McDonald's and KFC and 7-Eleven. We did all the big scratch bingo games for Murdoch's newspapers down under. So yeah, I got really heavily into packaging these, what we call, incentives, and we provide them to businesses to use as a distraction.
So, when you're marketing your business when you first start out, was it tough to get clients, the grocery stores or whatever, to buy into this and understand what you were trying to do?
Yeah, it was. And thank goodness for me, that little phrase that I think is at the bottom of some of those motivational calendars absolutely applies to me. And that is persistence beats intelligence.
Nice.
'Cause I'm not that intelligent. So therefore, I just kept on knocking on the door. And in fact, even at this age, I'm a baby boomer. So, it's a digital age now. So I've surrounded myself with a bunch of experts that are 35. And so, we're doing AI robots and all sorts of stuff now. But back in that day, yeah, we had the ideas. The only way that I was going to get into Rupert Murdoch's newspapers to, do the scratch bingos was just to be persistent. And even Seinfeld, I asked Seinfeld on the first time I went over, I said, why did you say yes to this? I mean, you've got more money than God. I mean, why would you do this bank down under? And he said, for two reasons. He said, I like the Australian sense of humor. You guys take the mickey, and that's what I do for a living. And he said, the other reason is I thought if I didn't say yes, you'd never go away.
Ah, there you go. The power of persistence. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you come up with these ideas? Because I can remember when I was a kid, the grocery stores had those little stamp things, and you get your dishes or cookware or whatever it was. I
Yeah.
mean, my mom probably still has some of that stuff from
Yeah.
whatever, 30, 40 years ago. So
No,
was that
I
a
didn't.
everywhere thing, or where
Yeah,
did
no,
those
I
come
didn't go. We
about?
start we stole it from a company called Tesco in the UK. So there's a supermarket sort of chain in London and right throughout the UK. Very big business called Tesco, and they were doing all of this sort of stuff. So yeah, so I just got the ideas there, and we just put our own little twist to it. But essentially, that's where they all came from.
Sure.
But since then, once I got into a lot of these continuity things, most of them have originated from, between my ears. But you borrow and put all sorts of things together. I mean, we've got one. now, as a result of the Seinfeld get a home loan, get a free vacation thing going nuts, I was contacted by an international company just before COVID. And they said, listen, you seem to have half a clue when it comes to marketing. We're a travel company and we've got access to unsold hotel rooms all around the world. Do you want to join forces with us and pay us a royalty? And what we'll let you do is actually sell these holiday vouchers, what we call a holiday in Australia, but vacation vouchers, to businesses to hand out as a Happy Meal toy. And so what would happen is that, in fact, anyone listening can't see this, but I'll hold it up to the camera if you happen to be watching the video. They're a quarto size vacation voucher, and it shows you all around the world where you can go. But this gives people 3 to 7 nights hotel accommodation in Vegas, New York, San Diego, Orlando, Grand Canyon, right around the world, Paris, Rome, you name it. And the hotels are happy to give up the rooms for free in the hope that they will fill them and people will spend money on food and beverage. So that's how it works. So this company rang me and they said, look, we've seen your Seinfeld stuff because it's pretty hard to keep that a secret. How did you find vacations as a customer incentive? I said, the best I've ever seen. I said, I've given away microwave ovens and skateboards and all sorts of things and dining vouchers. Nothing matches this. They said, well, why don't you actually put that brain of yours to work and come up with an idea where we can sell the vacation vouchers to businesses and they use it as a Happy Meal toy. And everyone wins. The hotel fills their rooms outside of school vacation periods. They've got empty rooms, so therefore they fill the rooms and hopefully they'll make money out of food and beverage. So that's what we've done. We launched that just before COVID. It went nuts. Obviously, during COVID, we sat on the reserve bench for a little while. So what we do now is that because we know smaller businesses can't necessarily do all of these big things that McDonald's do, we actually give them these vacation vouchers for $50 each. They're worth $1,000, and they just simply give them out to a customer when they buy the refrigerator or they use their lawn mowing services or whatever it might be. And the reason I bring that up is because I've tested every incentive you could possibly think of, from microwave ovens to skateboards to dining vouchers to gas discounts, you name it. And there's nothing comes near the success of giving someone a vacation.
That is cool. So the vacation, that's the hotel stay. They have to come up with flight and all that kind of stuff on their own, right?
Yeah. So
All
they
right.
buy these offers for just under $50, and it's 3 to 7 nights in New York and Vegas and Orlando and all sorts of places.
Okay.
They've just got to get there. Yeah, so it's only for accommodation. It's for 2 adults and 2 children. Yeah.
All right. Do they have to sit through some timeshare thing or something like that?
No, I thought the same thing. Look, I've been in this marketing game forever, so I've seen all the travel scams. And I said to these guys, look, is there any timeshare presentation? Because I run the other way, because we've all seen them. No, there's not. No, it's a very clever idea. The hotels are mostly 4-star TripAdvisor. There's a few in Europe that are 3.5, but most of them are 4-star TripAdvisor rated. And it's basically they are giving up the room when they've got empty rooms. Because it only costs them, I don't know, $12, $15 to clean the room, but they're hoping whoever stays there as a free guest will spend money on food and beverage.
Got it. That is cool. That's clever. I
It
was
is
also
very,
looking at your website and I saw the gas vouchers and I
yeah.
saw the sweepstakes things.
Mm.
Let's go down the road of the gas thing because that was intriguing.
Yeah, it's interesting. We probably haven't pushed that as much as we should, to be honest with you. I'm your typical entrepreneur. I get distracted by butterfly.
Oh yeah.
And at Woolworths, when I was there, I got to know, quite a few people, and this was 1,000 years ago. And they were talking at the time about using gas discounts, and I had left by the time they brought it in. But what happened was that whenever you spent $30 at the supermarket, when they eventually brought this in, you got 4 cents a litre. Now, you guys are in gallons, but we're in litres. You got 4 cents a litre off your gas. Went nuts. And so therefore I thought, well, hang on, how do we do this for small businesses? So what we did is that we took it to another level, because keep in mind, my thing is called the Institute of Wow, so I'm supposed to do that. And so what we did is that we packaged a promotion for smaller businesses where they could say, spend $50 at my butcher shop or, whatever it might be, and I'll give you 10 cents, not 4, 10 cents a litre off your fuel. And how it worked is that basically when you came into the butcher shop, if you spent $50, you got 10 cents off your fuel. If you spent $100, you got 20 cents off the fuel. So you got 10 cents for every $50 you spent. You can go out to any gas station and fill it up. All you have to do is bring a receipt back to the butcher. I'm using a butcher, but it could be any business. You bring the receipt back to the butcher. He looks at it and says, okay, well, 50 litres. It was a maximum of 50 litres. So therefore, you've just got 50 litres multiplied by 10 cents. That's $5. Here's the $5. $5 is the percentage of the 50 that Mrs. Smith spent is 10%. So if she spent $100, then she got 20 cents a litre. So she went out and got her gas. She came back in and gave the receipt. 20 cents, multiplied by 50 is $10. So therefore $10 of the 100 that she spent is still at 10%. So it made Dr. Evil look a nice guy, to be quite frankly. So it was basically a 10% discount disguised as an unbelievable promotion. Keep in mind, the little butcher who's sitting outside the big supermarket, Woolworths, and Woolworths was saying 4 cents a litre, he could now say, come and shop with me and you can get up to $1 per litre off your gas. But of course, the only way they got $1 per litre off their gas was they'd spent all that money. So it was basically a 10% discount on steroids.
Dang. So with that, with the percentage of the fuel, the cost of the fuel and all that jazz, more or less equating 10%, how did you make money in all that?
We charged for the IP. So therefore, what we would do is we'd say, listen, we'll put the promotion together for you. It's only ever going to cost you 10% of your turnover, but we'll charge X $1,000 for managing the whole process.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And tell me about the sweepstakes thing, because I saw that $50,000 sweepstakes.
Yeah.
But there must be some fine print in there somewhere. I guess I didn't peruse all of it. So tell me how that works.
Yeah, look, it's what we call an insured promotion. Okay, so the big insurance companies around the world, the Lloyd's of London and so forth, they provide the big cash prizes to Deal or No Deal TV shows or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That's all given by, that's all basically covered by an insurance company. So when the network gives away that $1 million, which is not too often, then the insurance company coughs up the money. And the TV station pays the insurance premium based on the difficulty of the questions. So therefore, I've been doing this for quite some time, and I've got a pretty good relationship with a major broker for Lloyd's. And what we do is that we provide big cash sweepstake prizes to businesses to, again, act as a stimulant to people to buy their product or service. So you might say, if you're selling lawnmowers, buy my lawnmower, and you've got a chance to win $1 million, okay, or 100,000 or whatever it might be. So, I can get $1 million for around about 20 to 25 grand. I can get $500,000 for around about 10 or $12,000. So what happens is that when somebody buys your product or service, they actually get a ticket in the draw. And then at the end of the promotion, be it a month or 2 months, a preliminary draw happens where someone is chosen, and that someone goes online and there's a chocolate wheel. And in that chocolate wheel, there's 200 numbers. And they select one of those numbers, so it's a chance to win. And so let's just say it's a chocolate wheel with 200 numbers, and I chose number 84. Then I press the spin button, and if the number comes up, then I win the $1 million. If it doesn't come up, then I get a consolation prize.
All right.
Simple as that. And so therefore, look, as long as on the website and all of one's advertising, it's highlighted that it's a game of chance. That when you are drawn, there's a chance that you could win. Everything's fine. And, we get $50,000. We put a package together for businesses. They pay us 5 or 6 and they get a $50,000 sweepstakes.
That's cool.
Mm.
That is cool. And I imagine people are attracted to that. Everyone wants to win or see that big golden nugget, whatever.
Yeah, well, we had a holiday, a vacation resort in Fiji do it a few years ago. And he contacted me and he said, he's an Australian guy, but Fiji is a little bit like Hawaii for you guys. It's an easy destination for us to get to. It's only 3 hours flight. And he said, look, my major business comes from travel agents on the east coast of Australia. And really, we're 25 years old and there's a lot of new resorts near the airport that are beating us. And I said, okay. And he said, have you got any of that? Excuse the language, but he said, have you got any of that wow, S-H-I-T? I said, yeah, okay, right. So anyway, apologies for my voice. I got a bit of laryngitis. So anyway, we put a promotion together for travel agents. So this was B2B. And we said to the travel agents on the east coast of Australia, look, for every night you book anyone into the Hideaway Resort, which was this 25-year-old resort, then you get a ticket into the $1 million. Now, a travel agent doesn't care where the person goes to stay. They get their commission no matter what. So when you actually went to a travel agent throughout this whole period, and by the way, it was $1 million. So we got the $1 million for him for whatever it was at the time, 15, 20 grand. So when you walked into a travel agent with your husband or your wife and said, look, we're going to Fiji, we thought we'd go to the Hilton, the travel agent would say, no, they got rabies. Okay. They got Ebola. You don't want to go there. You want to go to the Hideaway Resort. And they go, oh, okay, right. Fair. So therefore, the occupancy rate was 32% when we launched. It went to 99% and stayed there for the 3 months.
Wow. That is incredible.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, these are all psychological driven, marketing campaigns to get people off the fence and to also distract people from the price. If you are selling on price, then really, if you think you're going to beat Costco or Amazon, then you're on drugs. Okay, so
Yeah.
the thing is that what we stand for with the Institute of Wow is giving people a wow factor that distracts them from looking at the price.
Nice. What are some of the other things, the wow, we'll call it stuff that you've done over the years?
Yeah, I've got to tell you, there's one that is a funny one. It's for tradesmen. Okay, we call them tradies here in Australia. Do you call tradesmen tradies?
I don't think
Tradies.
so, no.
Yeah.
I
Okay. Well,
think we
we
should
call.
start though.
So we call handymen and builders and electricians and plumbers. We call them tradies, but they're tradesmen. And this guy had a turf farm, as in grass. So he had like 2 or 3 miles worth of turf, and he would sell that to landscapers, who would then sell it to consumers to put grass in their front yard or backyard. And he saw one of my song and dance shows at a seminar, and he came up to me at the end of it, and he said, "Listen, I like this distraction policy that you've got." He said, "I have like a bucket load." I won't say what he said, but it started with S. I've got a certain load of grass I've got to get rid of. And I said, "Oh, okay, righto." And he said, "Could you visit me?" And as it turned out, it was close to where I was. So I visited him the next day. And sure enough, he had miles and miles and miles of grass. And he said, "It's very competitive." He said, "Because there's no difference between my grass and someone else's, whereas there is a difference between Coke and Pepsi." And I said, "Yeah, I know." Okay. He said, "So it's all price." He said, "Landscapers come to me and they'll ask to get 2 or 3 homes worth of grass, but I'll give it to them for $6.50 a square meter, and the guy down the road will be $6.40 a square meter within 5 minutes. So it's a race to the bottom." And I said, "Okay, right, I'll leave it with me." So we came up with an idea that because 99.9% of landscapers are men, what would be a good Happy Meal toy for them? And we decided it would be a premium beer. In Australia, down under, the premium beer is one called Crown Lager. That's the beer that normally chief executives and doctors and dentists would drink, okay? And a landscaper would probably not drink that. But this was the most expensive beer. So what we said to the landscapers, for every home's worth of grass, which is the front yard and backyard, we will give you a slab, a carton of 24 of these bottles, okay? A carton of this very high premium beer. And he said, "Do you think it'll work?" I said, "I don't know. We'll give it a shot." So he sent out a brochure, because keep in mind, these guys are not tech savvy. So we sent out a brochure, and we also sent out emails and text messages. And we said, "For every home's worth of grass you get from me, you'll get a carton of this premium beer." He rings me 4 days after we launched and said, "JD, got a problem," which is not the thing you want to hear from anyone when you're a consultant, right? They'll
No.
go, "Oh, what's wrong here?" I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "We're out of grass. We just sold 3 miles worth of grass in 3 days." I said, "What?" Even I was supposed to be the marketing show off that nothing is a surprise. I knew it was going to work. I couldn't believe it. I said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, it's just all gone." He said, "I'll tell you how stupid this is." He said, "One guy who was the biggest pain in the ass client that I've ever had, he would always ring me and say, 'I can get it down the road for, 50 cents a meter cheaper.'" He would always just, basically, negotiate backwards and forwards. He rang me and said, "Look, I want 18 homes worth of grass. I don't care when the grass gets here, but I need the beer by Friday. I've got a party."
Nice. The man of priority right there.
You got it. And so what happens is that was a few years ago, and he just repeats it. It's when people say to me, "Well, what do we do after this?" I go, "What do we do?" When McDonald's came up with that toy that worked, they've been doing it for 45 years. Just rinse and repeat. Just don't go coming up with something else. Kellogg's have been putting a toy in the cornflakes for 50 years. Amazon, with the Prime Membership Club, they will give you free movies and free shipping and free music. And also, when you come up with something that works, just keep doing it until it doesn't work.
Right. Right. Have there ever been any marketing things that you've done that you thought were going to be successful and just ended up face planting?
I've had probably a million failures, and it's the same old story. Michael Jordan missed more hoops than he ever made because he shot more hoops. So yeah. Look, at this age now, I mean, I've got a pretty good handle on what works and what doesn't because you've had all those failures. It's convenient for somebody who might be a baby boomer to say that because it's a good combat technique against the younger kids with the ponytails that are coming along. Because I always say to someone, "Look, go to a digital marketing agency and deal with a 25-year-old. But if you need heart surgery for your business, and you do, let's just say it was heart surgery for you, would you actually use the guy that just came out of medical school and he's 25 and he says, 'Listen, I've never done this heart surgery before. I've learned all about how to do it at college. I'm going to give this a hell of a good shot. Okay. Or would you give it to the guy with a few wrinkles that has been around the block a few times who says, look, I can do this in my sleep.
Yeah.
And so I've had a gazillion failures like we all have. But yeah, at this age, I mean, we've got a pretty good hit rate these days. We've got one at the moment, which is just blew me away. We've called it the Facebook contest formula. And it's so simple, James. It's like, I can't believe I didn't come up with it earlier. I only came up with this 6 months ago. And what it is that you just take a campaign out on Facebook and you have a contest to your target audience where they can win your product or service in a contest. So let's just say, for argument's sake, you were a dentist, because this is one that we did last week, and you are selling invisible braces, and they're called Invisalign. Okay, so therefore you're selling these invisible braces, and mainly for children, but adults do. Then we just simply ran a contest on Facebook, and we said, how would you like to win invisible braces? They're worth 5 or 6 grand, right? He got 1,400 entries in the first week at around about 50 cents an entry. So therefore he only spent $700, right? He gave one away, but he's got 1,399 people with crooked teeth who have just glowed in the dark. They just put their hands up and said, I've got crooked. Well, you don't want to win braces if you've got straight teeth, right?
Right.
So what it does, it flushes out not leads, but red hot leads. We did one for a walking frame business. It was a guy that has walking frames for elderly people, and he has a product called the Wheelie Walker. And so we ran that only 2 weeks ago. He got 822 leads in the first week from 70 and 80-year-olds. And so therefore he just said to me, look, I wouldn't get 800 leads in 6 months. He said, this is incredible. He got the leads for 35 cents. So therefore he was getting something like around about 120 leads a day, and he couldn't keep up with it. He'd never had that many leads in his life. So what we've done for him and what we can do for other clients is that he was spending $40 a day, which is a very modest budget on Facebook, right? Gearing in towards that demographic. So now we said to him, well, what can you handle? And he said, oh, half of that. He said, okay, well, we don't spend $40 a day anymore. We'll just spend $20 a day. So we'll give you each week, instead of, 800 leads, you get 400. And that's the beauty of it. Once you've actually tried this and you've flushed out these ridiculously hot leads, you can adjust your Facebook budget to suit your capabilities. In his case, we've just got an AI robot ringing everyone. He's not doing it. We just have an AI robot ringing them and saying you didn't win. But obviously you need a Willy Walker. So therefore we've got a special deal for you. If you buy this week, we'll give you a free vacation.
Oh, look at that. Combining them there. I love it.
Evil, Dr. Evil.
Yeah. You just play the game. Play the game. That is incredible. What have been some of the industries that people have come to you and you're just like, ooh, I got to think about this one? Where it's not just a grocery store or dentist or something where it's an everyday thing, it's something more obscure.
The most difficult one has been a funeral parlor.
Oh,
Uh,
all right.
That's not really tasteful to say, let me burn your relatives and you get a free vacation. So that's been a challenge. Or even to run a continuity promotion whereby you get points when your relatives die. I don't think that's tasteful. So we backed away from that. Was very difficult, that one. So look, this came up not so long ago, and this had nothing at all to do with sweepstakes or Happy Meal toys. It was a hairdresser in a little country town, a little bit like Andy Griffith's Mayberry. Okay, so it was a little bit like that. And anyone who's under 40 will be scratching their head going, what's Andy Griffith?
Mayberry, who? What?
Mayberry. Yeah, and so therefore this lady had a hair salon for 32 years in the main street, and she'd never had any competitors. And this lady came to town and opened up across the road.
Oh,
And
no.
yeah, so she said to me, look, we've got a problem. We charged for men's haircuts $55, and we had a good amount of men. She said, we make most of our money out of women because they'll spend 100, 200, 300. But the men's haircuts at $55 are very easy because they're quick. Men just want to get in and get out. And she said, we've lost all the men because the lady across the road is offering $10 haircuts for men. And I went, oh, gosh. So she said, either I go at $9. I said, no, don't be silly. Don't do that. You're not going to make any money in $9 haircuts. And she said, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm beside myself. She said, not only have we lost all of our men because they don't care where they get the haircut, they go to a butcher. But also we've lost a lot of their wives because where they go, the wife goes. So I said, well, leave it with me. And so therefore 2 days later, I went and I said, well, look, I think I've got an idea. And we did execute this idea. And within a month, she got every single man back. All we did was put a sandwich board outside her hairdressing salon, which said, we fix $10 haircuts.
Nice. Nice.
So, sometimes it's not necessarily the Happy Meal toy, distraction. Sometimes it can just be, depositing the seeds of doubt that the other person's product might not be as good as yours.
That is cool. Have there ever been any business to business type
Yeah, yeah.
things
Look,
that you work with?
yeah, half of our clients, and we've got clients in America, not many in Europe, but certainly in America. But I love the US. I've been there probably 50 times. And over the years, we were a Disney licensee. So therefore, I would take out the posters and books and bubblegum card licenses for all the Disney movies. And so every trip back in those days, when I had 6 kids under 12, every trip cost me 50 grand, because imagine me saying, I'm going to Disneyland, you're going to stay home in Australia.
Woof.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so look, half our business is B2B. So therefore, we have businesses wanting to distinguish themselves from other businesses. And in that instance, I mean, one, I just put the campaign together for him last night, is a company that is a blinds manufacturer. So therefore, for your windows at home, your blinds and shutters and curtains. And he wants to sell to a major chain called Spotlight in Australia, who sells, guess what, blinds and shutters and curtains. And he said, "How do I get in?" He said, "We're already in, but we want them to spend more." I said, "Okay, well, just say to them that you would deliver to them a packaged promotion." And I just told him the vacation promotion. So therefore, he's going to be pitching to them next week. We put it all together for him. He just presents it, and he says to Spotlight, who has 250 stores around Australia, so it's going to be a good client for him, you buy X amount of our curtains or our blinds, and we will give you this promotion whereby every time somebody spends X dollars on the curtains, they get a free vacation. So what he's doing is he's funding the vacation promotion. He gives us the $50 for each one of the vouchers, but he gives it to the other business for them to use as an attraction.
Nice. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So that can, I guess, promote for their salespeople or things like that that can help that way.
Yeah, because look, in this day and age where everything now, of course, is looked upon, the old days of being able to give someone tickets to the Super Bowl or tickets to the American Open tennis tournament, those days are limited because there's a lot of corporate governance these days. So it's very difficult to do the long lunches like we used to do. And so what we find ourselves doing is putting together a package promotion for the business to sell to another business.
Got it. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you, so the, you have to find companies like the sweepstakes thing, you got to find the insurer and stuff like that. Fuel, you got to find that travel thing, you got to find that back end stuff. Is it tough to find the back end people?
Yeah, look, it is for something like the travel thing, although that dropped from the sky. I can't take too much credit for that. They saw my Seinfeld campaign, get a vacation, so they contacted me. With the fuel thing, excuse me, with the fuel thing, they can go to any fuel station. Okay, they can go to any gas station. So that's, if you like, the genius of it. They don't have to be tied to one gas station. They can go out and get the gas from any petrol station, let's say in America. They just bring the receipt back to the butcher shop or to the swimming pool company, or whatever it might be. They don't care where they got the gas from. All they're interested in, and keep in mind, it's just a 10% discount dressed up as a promotion. That's all. So therefore, there was no need to find any gas station companies involved in that. As far as the insurance is concerned, yeah, look, there's a whole bunch of insurance companies out there that do the prize insurance. We happen to stick with Lloyd's just because they're big, safe, and friendly. So if you're going to do one of these things where it's an insured prize promotion, I always find it's better to deal with the 40-ton gorilla.
Got it. Okay. There's
Yeah,
experience there. They got the money to back it. They've got the
yeah,
systems in place to make sure it'll work.
yeah,
It's not just
yeah.
some guy hanging out in a trailer saying, "Trust me."
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I got to say to you though that for anyone listening, and you don't have to use me. I mean, we do it, but you don't have to use me. Just swipe the idea. That Facebook contest formula is probably something that's up there with the vacation idea in terms of just being, I can't say guaranteed because you can never guarantee anything, but pretty close to guaranteed success. It just stands to reason. And the reason I'm bemused with it is because I can't believe I've been doing this stuff for this long, and it took me till 6 months ago to wake up to it. And it only came about because I was doing a presentation at a convention, and this guy come up at the end and he said to me, JD, you're going on about how powerful Facebook is and it's the most laser targeted form of advertising. He said, look, I've got an aluminium fence business. Now you guys pronounce it aluminum fence business. And he said, I've advertised on Facebook and it doesn't work. And I said, let me have a look at your ad. And his ad was, guess what? A picture of an aluminum fence, like not really sexy. Okay. And I said to him, look, I don't think anyone's going to get hard nipples over that ad. I said, do you want to get out of the way and we'll do it for you? And he said, yeah, sure. Now, what he was doing in the first instance was a mistake. He was highlighting the features, not the benefits. What he should have done is shown what we call the shit to gold picture, and that would be before and after. So here's a paling fence in a 30-year-old house falling over, and on the right-hand side of the photo, of course, the aluminum fence. And then you talk about the benefits of your house is going to increase in value. The neighbors will love you because all of a sudden the fence that was falling down has now been fixed, and blah, 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 blah. But what we did is that we ran the ugliest back fence in Australia contest, and your part of the world would be the ugliest back fence in America contest. And what we did is we said, take a photo of your ugly falling down fence. We zeroed in on just the suburbs with 30-year-old homes. And we said, just take the photo and post it to our Facebook page, and you're in the chance to win a $5,000 fence makeover. He got 6 months worth of leads in 3 days.
Wow.
And he rang me and said, I've never seen anything like it. He said, they're not only hot leads, they're giving me a picture of their fence, right?
Yeah, right.
So then we started doing it with kitchen renovation companies, the ugliest kitchen in Australia. And it's just like, it's dynamite. It just doesn't bring in leads. It brings in red hot leads. And you don't have to do the photograph thing. That's a bit cute. If it's a kitchen, it's a bit cute if it happens to be a fence. But just run a Facebook contest with your prize to give away. I mean, the walking frame one, for example, he just had people in their 70s and 80s were most of the entries. Some were in their 40s and 50s because their parents were in their 80s, right? He didn't have any 25-year-old gymnastic experts in there. Like you don't get much better than a red hot lead who was glowed in the dark and said, I love your product.
Right.
And as I said, we have a package put together and we give it to people. And if you don't mind me promoting, it's just fbcontestformula.com. So therefore, if you want to have a look at it, swipe it. If you don't want to use us, just go to fbcontestformula.com and take it. But if you want it done, because you're like me, if you've got a sore tooth, you go to a dentist, then yeah, we do it. I mean, the guy rang me last week. We charge $997 a month, so it's pretty cheap. And we manage everything. We put the ads together, we put the landing page together, we provide the reporting every week and all that sort of stuff. And this guy rang me and he said, JD, I went to your page, I swiped the idea, and he's a landscaper. He said, I gave away $2,000 landscaping prize. And he said, I ran it for 4 days and I got one entry and spent nearly $400. He said, can you do this for me?
Ah, that's
You
awesome.
got a sore tooth, go to a dentist. Yeah.
There comes a point, I believe, in entrepreneurs' lives as they grow, they advance, their businesses doing things in the positive, broadly speaking,
Yeah.
where you got other problems. You got employees, managers, clients, vendors, all that kind of stuff. And it's just a lot to juggle. But there comes a point where it's just like, you know what? I'm going to pay a pro because I'm a pro and I want people to pay me for my service, but I can't do it all. Let me pay a pro. And at least in my world, I've had better success paying a pro than myself trying to do it.
Yeah.
I like to
Yeah.
try to do stuff a little bit just so I have some modicum of knowledge so that when I'm talking to the vendor, I know kind of what they're talking about. But
Yeah.
no, the results, I don't want to say exclusively have been better with a vendor, but for the most part, there's a reason that they're successful doing what they're doing. Let them do what
Yeah.
they do.
Oh, James, and my wife will tell you that I'm the worst, most hopeless man in the world. I can't fix
Ouch.
it. Yeah, no, I'm the opposite from MacGyver. I go to a hardware store on the weekend just to walk around and look like a man. I would not know how to use a hammer, and so therefore I don't know how much we've spent over the years. We're on the kids were at home. They've all left now. The 6 kids, so we're in a high rise now. But up until 6 months ago, we were on 2.5 acres, and we must have spent a fortune on handyman because I'm just hopeless. I couldn't do a thing, and I just keep on coming back to when my wife would criticize me for not being a real man. I said, I said to her, "You can't hurt my feelings. I have no feelings. All right, give it your best shot." But I used to say to her, "Look, if you got a sore tooth, go to a dentist. We just pay the handyman to come in and do the stuff. I couldn't do it. No
That's
way."
it. That's it. You need braid surgery. You're not going to trust your neighbor. Like, Find a
Can I give
broker.
you another? Can I give you another thing? Aside from the Facebook, and I say Facebook, it can be Instagram as well, but Facebook contest formula, um, and that collects data for you. So therefore, you've got their name, you've got their age if you want it, you've got their demographic profiles. You can even ask them for their salary if you want. You can do whatever you want on that entry page, and they will give it to you. That's the beautiful part about a contest, because they want to win whatever you're giving away. They will tell you their mother's maiden name, you know. But I had another client last week contact me, and it's an Italian restaurant, and two things were wrong. It's an Italian restaurant at the bottom of a five-star hotel, brand new, and in the first 4 weeks they were empty. So I said to them, okay, well, listen, first of all, you know, why don't you give away a $500 voucher as the prize on a Facebook contest? So that was a given. And then I looked at their logo, and their logo looked like it was a local pizza shop in a little country town. It just didn't, there was no message market match. And so therefore I cheated. I just went on to ChatGPT and I said, can you give me artwork for a prestigious logo for an Italian restaurant? And just typed in all the sorts of things that we needed. Within like 30 seconds, the logo looks like it's the Palazzo Versace. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Nice.
I gave it to the guy, and because he's not into marketing, he didn't know that I cheated with ChatGPT. He just thinks I'm a genius, so I'll let him think that. Um, and the reason I bring this up is two things. Number one, message to market match. So whatever your product or brand is, just make sure it's presented to your audience in the way that they would expect. Okay. His upmarket Italian restaurant was selling entrees for $50 or $60, but his logo looked like it was Kmart. And I said to him, it's called message to market match. And the second thing is, I said to him, look, I'm going to give you an idea now that will double your business if you do it, but you won't do it. And he said, his name was Victor. And he goes, but I will, JD. I said, no, you won't. You'll pay me money and I'll tell you how to do this, but you will not do it. And of course, I'm teasing him, but not really, because I've given this idea that I'm just about to give to you to restaurants and cafes at conventions I've spoken at and clients that I've got, and only one has done it. I know I'm doing the drum roll crescendo to telling you what it is. And this one restaurant is in Melbourne, Australia, called the Lobster Cave. He took his business from 2.2 to over 5 million in 1 year by just doing this simple thing. And all it is that we stopped all the advertising and we gave 50 cents to his waitresses for every name and contact detail they collected, and they handed the check on the table. So if you and I and two other buddies were having lunch, at the end of that lunch, she'd come and put the $200 check on the table, the bill, and she would give us not a QR code, no apps. It was just basically a little form, which was the size of maybe an ace of diamonds. And it said, win dinner for 10 of your friends at the end of the month, give us your name, your email. And the main thing is, of course, your cell number. And that was a few years ago. He's up to nearly 100,000 on his database now. And he's the only restaurant in the world that's 100% full every single night of the year. The only night that he's not is Christmas, because he doesn't open. And all he does is this. I was visiting him on one occasion. He's got a 160-seat restaurant. And he said to me, come upstairs and I'll show you how he's very kind to me, how your BS works, JD. So we go upstairs to his office and he calls his long-suffering secretary in and he says, Darlene, can you show JD how many seats we've got full tonight? And this is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. She said, of 160, we've got, I forget what the number was, but let's just say we've got 60, so we've got to fill 100 seats. He said, we'll send out JD's text message number 4. And I've given him 20 text messages. And number 4 would say, hi, Gail and John, that's my wife and my name. Chef Pierre would like to invite you to come to the dinner tonight, a special lobster tail meal for 2 for $68, right? Now, a bottle of water in this place is $30, so you're not going to leave $68, I can tell you, right? The average couple spends 204. And so it's not bait and switch, but it's pretty close to it. Okay, so therefore,
Right.
you can delete that part. So therefore, they come in for $68 special meal, and of course, they walk away $204 later. All right. And all that happens is that she walks in, she'll send that text message out to, let's say, of his 100,000 list, she'll send that out to 1,000. And she'll walk in to his office 10 minutes later and say all 100 empty seats are gone, completely booked.
Just like that.
Because the text message says this deal will only be available for the next 30 minutes.
All right.
So 84% of all text messages are open within 2 minutes, as opposed to an open rate on email now, 10% if you're lucky. So you're not interested in their email, you're interested in their phone number. And the reason I bring that up is because I will tell that story to restaurant and cafe owners all the time, and they'll never do it. So I said to this guy who's just come on recently with his Italian restaurant with the bad logo, I said to him, "You won't do it." And guess what? Last night he contacted me and said, "We're ready to launch on Monday." So yeah,
Ah,
we'll see what happens. And when he says to me, "Oh, look, we'll just put a QR code on the table," I said, "No, no, 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 no. You people in the hospitality industry, you must be on drugs. It's called hospitality. You don't put a QR code there and expect them to do your work for you. Go, look, here's 2 tickets to Disneyland. Go and see how it's done, you idiot."
right.
All it is just a piece of paper the size of, you know, the size of a wallet, and it just says win dinner for 10 of your friends at the end of the month. You'll find that 90% of people will fill that in, and then you've got a database that you can milk forever.
Very cool. I love it. Tell me, really quick, because and this is top of mind on my end, because I have a trade show coming up, and
Mm.
this, I mean, you're trying to compete with 50 million different things going on, all the other different booths, the classes that attendees are going to, all that kind of stuff. What are some things you would recommend for a company to do at a trade show to try to get attention?
We've done a bunch of trade shows in Vegas. We're not a big business by any means, but we've done a few in Vegas with these package promotions. And what you can't do it now because of security, but back in the day, we could just slip invitations on their door or under their door in the hotel. You can't do that now, of course, you know. And what it would be is the chance to win a wonderful prize. It was normally a holiday in Vegas. Keep in mind that everyone's coming for the convention, but they had to come down and check the prize board at our booth. So therefore, your lucky number might have been 304, and we had on our prize booth a list of all the numbers that won the prize. And so therefore, it made you come to our booth to see if your brochure matched the number at our booth.
Oh, clever.
Yeah, and because you can't do the bikini girls anymore, that's a no-no. So anyway, um, yeah, look, I would suggest and look, it's funny you should ask this because we're doing one for someone here that's doing a convention in Sydney. And what we're doing is saying we look after him as we would with you, of course, with these vacation vouchers. And he just simply says, come to my booth and have a 5-minute conversation with me and you'll walk away with a free vacation. And the other booths around him want to stab him through the heart.
Nice.
Yeah. So
That's pretty
I mean,
slick.
you won't get anything hotter than inviting someone to just have a 5-minute conversation with you and they walk away with a vacation.
Right? Yeah, that's incredible.
Pretty stupid. Yeah, pretty
I love
crazy.
it.
And the reason that works is the hotels, or pretty much 4-star, they run at about 30% vacancy outside of school vacations. Now, whoever you give this to cannot use it at Christmas and Easter and school vacations because it's based on having unsold rooms. There's no unsold rooms in those periods, right? So the thing is that if they're running at 30% or thereabouts vacancy factor outside of school vacations, then really that empty room is like an empty seat on an airplane. They're not making any money out of it. And so therefore they're happy to give that room up to us for free. We resell it for whatever we want to resell it for. Okay, so we can resell it for $90 for 60 for we've come up with a price around about $50 because that covers our overheads and the commission we need to pay the travel company. But when people buy in volume, I mean, someone yesterday contacted me and they wanted 1,000 of them. They don't pay $50. They pay much less than that, of course, you know. So like anything else, you know, if you buy in volume. But what we've found is that if you want to get someone off the fence, if you want to artificially stimulate them to talk to you, then just simply say, listen, if you have a Zoom call with me, or in your instance, come to my booth, you'll walk away with a free vacation. Shut the gate. And it doesn't matter what demographic it is, because these hotels are 4-star rated, then it's not like if you give it to a doctor, he'll go, oh, no, I'm not staying at the RV park.
Right.
But you can give this to any demographic and they'll give you a bear hug.
That is cool. I love
Yeah.
it. JD, you had some books. There was a huge one you wanted to mention. I'm excited to see this again.
Yeah, so because I'm an idiot, when I hit this seminar talk circuit, the people who were promoting my seminar said, you got to write a book. I said, I don't want to write a book. They said, no, you got to write a book. Oh, okay. So I did the normal small book and it's called the Avalanche Leads Formula. So that's the normal small book. Okay. But then they said, you got to write another one. I went, oh, come on. I mean, it's hard enough to get on stage and talk. And so I had to write another one. So I thought, okay, well, my thing is called the Institute of Wow.com. I better write a wow book. So it's this one here. If
Look
you're
at
listening
that.
to this, you can't see it, but if you're listening to it, it's the size of a tabloid newspaper. It's leather bound, gold tipped at the edges, and each one of these books is 300 pages of direct response ideas that you can swipe and use for your business. And each book costs $420 to print. So it's just a ridiculous thing that I did, but it got attention. We can give you the digital version of this. Okay, so therefore, in here, there's 300 pages of all of the winning direct response ideas I've had over the last 15, 20 years. All of these ideas are timeless. If it worked on television 15 years ago, it'll work on Facebook today.
Sure.
By the way, it's called the Wow Manifesto. Okay.
The Wow Manifesto. I love that thing is huge.
You know
That is
what?
a book you put on your coffee table or in your waiting room, and people are just going to be amazed by it just by looking at the cover and then inside with all those
Well,
ideas.
you know what, James? We get them to sign an insurance form that if they read this in bed of a night time and fall asleep, they'll break their ribs. So therefore, we've got to have a disclaimer. It is, but you know what? All jokes aside, by producing a stupid, ridiculous book like this, and we for $400 to print, we would give this to anyone that joins the 25K program. Of course, you would, right? With anyone else, it's a digital copy that we give them because you can't hand out $400 books all the time. But you know what? When I hold that up again, I mean, it's called the Institute of Wow.com. So therefore, when I hold that up, there's no question that gets everybody's attention because it's got a wow.
Right. It's not the Institute of Meh. It's the Institute of Wow.
Yeah, when some of our ideas over the years have not worked, I just say, "Oh, it's the Institute of Woe." Just
Whoa.
take the W off.
I love it. JD, where can people find you?
Well, you know what we've found is that when I am on a podcast like this, the best thing to do is what a guy in America says quite often. He's in the similar advisory game to me, and he said, "Prove to people that you can help them by actually helping them." And it's a pretty good idea. And that's really, I guess, another term for sampling. I always say to people, if you own like a seafood shop, have a hostess handing out calamari samples at lunchtime and dinner time, and there's a good chance they'll taste them and come in and spend money on seafood. And so therefore, the best thing that we thought with this is to invite people to have a chat with me. So once a week, we have a group Zoom meeting for anyone who listens to me on your podcast to just join half a dozen other business owners and have a chat with me. And so therefore, you're going to throw up probably when I give you the URL for this. But if anyone just wants to have an hour with me on Zoom, and be prepared that there would be 5 or 6 or 7 other businesses, but nonetheless, you've got the chance to ask me any questions about your business that you like your one just then about the convention. How do you get them to come to your booth?
Yeah.
Then wait for this. Just go to getmorejd.com.
Oh, I love it.
My wife threw up. She was sick. She was physically ill when I told her that was the URL. So getmorejd.com.
Get more JD. She probably just kept clicking, right?
No, she's heard too much of this wow stuff, I'm afraid. She just rolls her eyes. And of course, James, the other thing, and look, I think anybody who's married to an entrepreneur, whether it's a husband or whether it's a wife, is probably over the next phrase because I'll say to her, "I've got this new idea," and she'll go, "Oh no, 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 no."
I can tell you, my wife, I always think of her like a little fighter pilot because she likes to shoot down every new idea. And I'm like, this will be great, right? But I was
Yeah,
just joking with a guy in a meeting that I had earlier this morning. I'm like, the entrepreneurs that I know, myself included, I feel like our full-time job, beyond full-time, is to constantly pull in the reins of the 5 million ideas that we have rolling in our head every single day. And it's not to act on every single one of those ideas.
yeah.
Like one or two every once in a while, great, run with it, but you got to constantly pump the brakes because there's always something going on.
Well, you know what? I agree with that wholeheartedly. And she told me 6 months ago when we were about to go down the rabbit hole with the AI robots, oh, look, that's silly. And now, because a good portion of our income is coming from that, I'm not so silly after all. And just before we go, the quick description of this is we had a lot of trades business, like electricians and plumbers and solar dealers, and they're on the roof putting a solar panel in. They can't answer their phone. So what we've done is come up with a product called AI Genie, as in I dream of Genie, and she answers the phone for them, or he, it's a male or female, whatever you want the robot to be. And so therefore what happens is that these trades businesses now come on, and for less than $200 a month, the robot answers the phone, and not only answers the phone for them, but also schedules the next meeting. So therefore, if someone says, look, my air conditioning's broken, I need it fixed, the robot will have a conversation with them. You know, would you want anything else? Oh, yeah, I'd like 3 ceiling fans and I'd like 4 power points. And the robot will quote an estimate and then say, look, give me your address and we'll have someone there for you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And what the robot's doing is it's actually going into the 12 trucks that this particular guy has on the road. I'm only bringing this up because there was one yesterday, and he's got 12 trucks on the road. Where they were losing money is that the next job that truck number one got might have been an hour drive away. Now that's not the case, because what happens now is that the robot actually schedules the next job for him, the next suburb. And they used to have a 40% abandonment rate on a hot day. So if it was an electrical business with air conditioners, on a hot day, they might get 100 calls. They lost 40 of them because they couldn't answer all of them, and people just get the you-know-whats and they leave. Now, 100% of all their calls are answered. And the guy yesterday said to me, just in the last month, they've saved 15 grand a week on lost calls. So, because every single call now is answered, like within 2 rings, so they have no abandonment rate at all. He said the amount of money that means that we are now answering 100% of the calls instead of 60%. That means we know what the conversion rate is in that extra 40%. We just picked up 15K a week.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah. So I put that in front of my wife in front of the table every night when we're having dinner. I say, I told you, I knew this one would work.
That's the name of the game. Is she an entrepreneur as well?
No, thank God. Maybe because if she was, our kids would have never eaten, because we both would have put everything on the next job. You know? No, she's the daughter of an accountant, and so therefore she's come from a left brain background, whereas I'm ultra right brain, of course, being an entrepreneur. And luckily that was the case, because yeah, can you imagine 2 entrepreneurs around the dinner table? Oh.
You know, it's a fun conversation, but yeah, it could go up and down.
No, because well, yeah, we'd have a win on something, and I'd say, okay, well, let's do, you know, it was like a gambling. And my wife, actually, his father was a compulsive gambler, and of course, then she marries an entrepreneur. Well, she's an idiot, and so you'd have a big win on something, and you say, well, let's do it on the next project. And yeah, thank goodness she would pull me down from the sky, because yeah, she told us that the kids needed to eat.
Nice. That is cool. JD, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. And by the way, I'll have a chat to you later on, because I'm sure I can help you with some vacation vouchers for your big convention.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great idea. I'm always trying to think of something to help people. Because a lot of these trade shows, it's all introverts that want to, I call them pen stealers. Just grab your kitschy stuff and move on without looking up from the floor.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
always trying to think of something that to attract the attention, to get them in a conversation, even just to have them have a little bit more fun. Because I always seem
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
they
Well,
seem like zombies sometimes.
what amazes me, and again, I guess it's because our whole thing is, you know, the Institute of Wow. When I go to these conventions, I'm just amazed that they've all got the M&M bowl of the candy, and you know, a few other bits and pieces. I think, is that the best you can come up with? I mean,
Right.
did you have a committee meeting and all 10 people said, yeah, what we got to do is put M&Ms in a fish bowl. That'll attract them by the millions.
Right. Yeah, right. Have to beat them off with a stick.
I just
Oh,
shake, I just shake my head. I think, is that the best that your committee could come up with? You know?
that is a fantastic question that I should ask a lot of people.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
No, no, it's I mean, I get asked all the time, you know, what my philosophy is, and I said, well, 2 things: test and fix, of course, and the second thing is hang around people who say why not, not people who say why. And you'll normally find accountants and operational people will go, oh, why? I mean, why would you invest in that? Why would you do that? Whereas you'll find crazies like you and I are much more fun to hang around, because we go, oh, why not? Let's give that
Oh
a
my
shot.
gosh. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It reminds me of I'm trying to think of who the stand-up comic was. I think it was Nate Bargatze. Said he was hanging out with his wife, and his wife complained that she doesn't joke with her. And he's like, I hang out with comedians all day, stand-up comics that do this for a living. They're more fun to hang out with.
Yeah, of course, that's right. It's
Sorry.
funny. When I was doing the Seinfeld thing, I asked him the obvious question. I said, do people try to be funny in front of you? And he said, yeah, yeah. He said taxi drivers, or not that he would capture taxi very often, I would imagine. But
Right.
he
Yeah.
said,
He's got his Porsches or cars to
yeah, it's
move
right. He's
coffee
got
with.
the largest collection of Porsches, yeah, like crazy.
Yeah.
Um, And I didn't. I said to him, look, I'm a bit sarcastic and I think I'm funny, but there's no way I'm going to tell you a joke. All right?
Yeah. Mum's the word, man. Mum's the
Yeah,
word.
exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, I must say that, it's just good fun to hang around with people. I'm not talking crazy people who say yes to anything, but it's good fun to hang around people who go, yeah, let's give that a shot. Why not? Why not?
No, the visionaries are the ones that are, I'm going to say, observant, because I feel like a lot of stand-up comics, a lot of their material is just observing and twisting the opposite of what people aren't really thinking of.
You got it. Yep,
Take
you got
that
it.
standard thing and just look at the 180-degree view of it.
Yep. And
And yeah.
I think we've come to that point in the conversation where you and I are saying, why can't people be just more like us?
Oh my God, wouldn't that make the world so much better? It was just, that's all there's to it, right? If everyone just thought exactly what I thought, they would be right. I love it. JD, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure. All the best, mate.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumph and successes of business owners across the land. My name is James Cademan, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering services to service businesses across the country. I should know what we do. Good gracious. On the web at callsoncall.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, not as big as the Institute of Well book there, but decent size. A book for the entrepreneur and all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. If you're listening or watching this on the web, if you could do us a huge favor, give it the big old thumbs up, subscribe, and of course, share it with your entrepreneurial friends, especially those friends that could use a little bit of marketing help in their business, which, let's just face it, that's pretty much all of them, right? What is the saying? Business is just marketing and innovation. Is that the idea? Something like that? John, can you share that website one more time where people can find you?
Yeah, because I'm so shy, I will give it once again. It's Get More JD, because my name is John Dwyer, so getmorejd.com. And of course, the company website is theinstituteofwow.com.
The Institute of Wow. I love it. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night at the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.